In terms of why so many people are about to get stuck, how the middle class is falling behind, and what you could do today to get ahead, there are two more items worth considering, with the first being housing prices. So here's the problem. Since 2020, the median home price in the United States has increased from $317,000 to $405,000, which is a 28% increase in just 6 years, at the same time that mortgage rates doubled from 3 to 6%. This means that to safely qualify for the median home today, you'd need to earn about $120,000 a year. And when the typical family is only making $85,000 a year, a home is basically out of reach for the vast majority of people. This is why the median age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, whereas a decade ago it was 29 to 31. Why does it matter? Well, even though renting is still the cheaper option throughout most of the country, long-term, homeownership has been the primary wealth builder for the middle class. And every year that first purchase gets delayed is a year of equity, appreciation, compounding, and wealth building that just never gets recovered. As proof of this, in 2022, homeowners had a median wealth that was 44 times greater than that of renters. And even if you strip out home equity entirely, homeowners still have a wealth that's 17 times greater than that of renters, which is kind of crazy. To put it simply, when people can't afford to buy a house, they don't just delay homeownership. They delay building wealth entirely. And the longer that gets pushed out, the harder it is to catch up. And that's exactly why the gap between those who own assets and those who don't continues to grow. In fact, that gap is causing one of the most bizarre financial shifts I have ever seen in my entire life, and that would be financial nihilism. For those unaware, this is basically the belief that the economy no longer rewards playing by the rules, in the sense that you live below your means, you save 15%, you invest in index funds, and you still can't buy a house until you're 45. So what's the point? Like, according to a 2026 Planning and Progress study, 73% of people who risk their money do so because they feel like they have no other option to get ahead. Honestly, from a mathematical standpoint, I get the logic. Like, when everything is so far out of reach, and even if you do everything correctly, you're still behind, you may as well take a few moonshots in the small chance that everything works out. On top of that, there's also another piece of generational history that most people don't realize, and that's the fact that today, you only have a 50-50 shot of doing better than your parents. But back in the 1940s, it was practically guaranteed that you'd be doing better. That's a level of declining upward mobility that we have never seen before in modern history. And when that becomes the baseline, it's no surprise that people are taking bigger risks to get ahead, even if it means a higher likelihood of actually falling behind. However, I will say that not everyone agrees, and depending on how you look at it, the middle class disappearing could actually be a good thing. Like, according to the Brookings Institute, the middle class isn't disappearing, it's just increasing. As they say, the bottom 1/5 has 25% more income in 2007 than they did in 1979, once you account for government transfers, the value of health insurance, and the decline in household size. A separate study also found that, yes, the middle class is disappearing, but only because they're making more money and moving into higher income groups. Even though this sounds hard to believe, objectively, there's a lot of truth to this. Like, from 1971 through 2021, the middle class shrunk as a disproportionate amount became upper class. Now, sure, lower incomes did also increase, but not as much as those who wound up making more money. In addition to that, even though the United States has the smallest middle class of similar nations, we also have the largest affluent class and poverty class, suggesting that it's really a barbell, where we have a lot of poor people, a lot of rich people, and very few in between. That's why I think it's not so much of an income gap here, but rather an investment gap, because those who invest end up making significantly more than those who don't. On top of that, investors also have the willingness to take more risk for potentially higher returns, because they have the reserves needed to hold through any short-term fluctuations, whereas someone living paycheck to paycheck can't afford to take any of those risks and is therefore almost always left out. That's why, given all of this, in terms of what you could do today, here's what I think. 1, you gotta face the savings rate. Right now, the national savings rate is only about 4% when it's recommended that you're able to save between 15 to 20%. This is why it is crucial to be able to look through your expenses, cut back anything you don't need, and start with the most expensive items first, like housing and transportation. Number 2, you should build the $1,000 emergency fund. I know this might seem insufficient, but 59% of people can't cover this right now. And without it, every single expense goes on a 22% credit card, which just makes everything worse. So no matter what, just get yourself your first $1,000. Now 3, if you have any credit card debt, that is your investment. If you're paying 20% or more in interest, nothing even comes close. Paying it off is a guaranteed return. So instead of timing the market or trying to invest elsewhere, just pay off any high interest rate debt. Number 4, adjust your home ownership timeline, but don't abandon it. Even though the median buyer is now 40 years old, that doesn't mean that you should give up entirely, but it does mean that you should plan differently. I'd say you should use the extra time to increase your income, reduce debt, invest consistently, and then save money over time. Or just consider if renting in the short term is just the cheaper option. And number 5, stop confusing desperation with strategy. When everything feels stacked against you, it's easy to want to throw money at moonshots thinking they might pan out. But that's not a strategy. I mean, the markets are designed to be able to profit from this. When it comes to this, the boring strategy of just saving a little extra money, dollar cost averaging, and investing consistently is not going to make you rich overnight, but it does work. And for most people, that consistency is actually what winds up closing the gap. All of that is to say that the middle class is not disappearing because people suddenly forgot how to manage their money. It's disappearing because the places that have historically built wealth, like income growth, housing, and cost of living, have moved in the opposite direction for many, many years, and people have not been able to adapt. To me, the real problem here is that people slowly get squeezed and they don't really realize it's even happening. Like, you make a little more money, but everything costs more. You save a little bit of money, but everything just gets more expensive. And you feel like you're making progress, but in reality, you're not. This is why it is so crucial to understand what's changing and to lower your expenses, live below your means, invest consistently, dollar cost average. The boring basics end up working long term with a higher likelihood of success than just making moonshots. The good news is that all of this is still well within your control and you don't have to take massive risks. You just need to understand what's going on and what's most effective in 2026. And that would be, above all else, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Oh, by the way, if you want early access to videos like this, along with extra content every single week that I don't post publicly, feel free to join as a channel member. And when you do that, by the way, and you leave a comment, it comes up as a notification on my phone. So I respond to all the member comments. So if that sounds good to you, feel free to join. Thank you so much, and